All right. All right. Well, welcome to the WEDI membership annual event. We do this once a year, and let me go over the agenda with you today. We will introduce our WEDI officers, board of directors, and election results for 2024 board of directors. We'll take you through and introduce you to WEDI staff, their roles. I'll take you through a chair report, the 2023 strategic plan, as well as the 2024 future plan. Charles will take you through financials, and then he and his staff will be taking you through membership, education, communications, work groups, advisory role. And the best part of all is recognizing people who made a difference for 2023 for awards program. Then we'll go into questions and answers. So I'd like to introduce you to my team. I'm chair. My name is Ed Hafner. Mary Lee, who I describe as the best chair-elect a chair could ever ask for, helps me out as my partner. Nancy Spector, who mentored me as the immediate past chair. Michael Kotmer, who's vice chair of membership and communications. Matthew Albright, vice chair of policy. Pam Grosse, vice chair of programs and services, which includes education and work group activities. And then Bob Bowman, or Robert Bowman here, the vice chair of finance. So that's the executive team. And our board of directors, many names here. You can see some really great company names representing many different stakeholder types that represent you, your membership stakeholder position, if you will. So providers, payers, vendors, government, standard development organizations, health information exchanges, state government, we're all kind of represented here. And together we are, of course, a trusted advisor to Health and Human Services. And our voice is considered non-biased. So we are growing our role as an advisory role within Health and Human Services, but more on that in a little bit. Charles, I think you're going to take over the next slides.
Absolutely, and thank you, Ed. Well, welcome everyone. As Ed was talking about, he was talking about provided the list of the officers for next year. I just wanted to go through the process that we actually perform every year. We do a call for, we have approximately a rotating schedule for each of our provider, payer, and vendor categories of membership. And so each year we have approximately, we have a group of members that are rotating off, and they have the opportunity to continue if reelected. So that process begins with a call for nominations that all of you should have received. We go through the call for nominations by category, and we also go through a voting process. And that voting process allows us to invite people in your category to vote for the selection of their choice. And the election results for 2023, therefore, to take office again in 2024 is listed below. So we had 3 members of the provider category renominated and elected, 4 on the payer and 4 on the vendor. Next slide. At the annual meeting of directors, we also, as in accordance with our bylaws, we have the formal appointment of the standards development organizations and operating rule representatives. And those are listed here from CAQH Core, from HL7, NCPDP, and X12. And it's We're so honored to have these organizations that are on the board and provide guidance throughout the year and partnerships and collaboration. So again, we are fortunate to have these representatives on our WEDI board. Next slide. Of course, you all know these individuals well, myself, but starting with Bill Alder, who is Director of Membership and Business Development, Samantha Hove, Director of Community and Education, Michael McNutt, who you often see with events and is the mastermind behind education, and Rob Tennant, who has not only been with the WEDI staff for 3+ years, he was previously on the board of directors of WEDI. So we're fortunate to have this team who make all of the items that you see throughout the year operate. Next. And Ed, how about I turn it to you to go over a little bit about your role as the chair of WEDI.
All right, thank you, Charles. Just for those listening in today, please use this presentation as something to learn more about WEDI, how you get more benefit from your WEDI membership. And remember, all these benefits you'll hear today apply to everyone within your organization, so spread the word. What I'm going to do is update you on some of the activities from a chair perspective. So we've started off with forming a new executive forum. It's for executives across all stakeholder types to complement WEDI's advisory role perspective and for executives to share information to each other as kind of a support group. We have a committee that is shaping this program, so stay tuned for more information. We are expecting, by the way, an interoperability prior auth rule to drop, hopefully sometime in Q1 2024. No promises, but we really believe that's going to happen. So we are resurrecting our SNP program, Strategic National Implementation Program, that was used for 5010 and ICD-10 and 4010 even before that. And so we're going to modernize it, and hopefully it will provide a strong resource for you and for the whole industry, of course, to accomplish these initiatives. The program focuses on content produced by our work groups and their focus, education activities, and staying a forum where people can share their experiences, questions, and share information with each other. You'll see also education program. You'll hear more about this later in this presentation, but we have adopted both a virtual and hybrid models. So summer forum and the fall conference, of course, was hybrid, and spring was virtual. We have many other sorts of education mediums like podcasts, newsletters, and YouTube videos. We're also expanding to include things like emerging technologies like AI, heavier focus on patient experience, and other educational topics. And during 2023, on the next slide, we've really strengthened our relationships with CMS, but also with ONC, OCR, and CMMI. They view us as a source to receive non-biased feedback from membership. That's you. So participate in our MPA meetings and listening sessions. Truly, I am grateful for our relationship that we have with these different organizations. And to me, this has been probably the most rewarding part of my job, is to meet and have them interact with you. So I believe our next slide will get into strategies. There you go. And we're going to go ahead and review what we've done with 2023 and our strategic planning committee. We started off with our first pillar, if we call it, as a convener within healthcare. That's through our member position advisory meetings, standard development organization meetings we've had with all the standard SDOs, and through our conferences where we convene people. Some of the best parts of our conferences is where we actually get together in breakouts and actually talk through different sorts of topics. We focus also on emerging technologies. We want to make sure we share successful practices and any challenges as you accomplish these successful practices, so we can all learn from each other. So we've been doing that quite a bit in our education program. We also want to make sure you understand our work group products and education program is keeping the patients in mind. You'll see that especially in our education program, where we have panels for some of these patient advocacy groups. Within membership activities, we are targeting specific niches with concise value prop messaging, so sort of more of a tuned selling process, as well as we want to make sure everybody's educated on what WEDI can provide to you. We mentioned earlier in our education program, we've expanded the topics, especially with a keen focus on regulation activities. And that's going to be a big focus for 2024, which you'll hear in the next slide or so. We are identifying successful practices for value-based care innovation within our payment models work group. And we mentioned earlier, of course, that we're growing relationships with the Health and Human Services departments. For going into 2024, let's see if we're keeping pace here. Sorry, I'm going pretty quick here. We want to make sure our education content has a very specific focus on the rules that are becoming finalized. So stay tuned for education series that will be focused on prior auth. We'll focus on interoperability. We see something drop for attachments. Of course, there'll be something there as well, where we'll encourage people to talk about, well, educate people, but also encourage people to share their implementation successes. What are the challenges? So hopefully we can all accomplish these regulations together. There is going to be a heavier focus on membership activities for 2024, where we use lists to be able to target the right people within companies to receive our value prop messaging, but also include help from WEDI members and board members to express the value they see in WEDI. We will continue our convener activity, especially with standard development organizations, NCBHS and CMS. And you should see us ramp up listening sessions. You'll see that with CMS. You also see that with the member policy advisory events. So they want to hear from us. So please join those calls and express your positions and your opinions. We will be including more education focus on successful practices, lessons learned, but not just on innovation, but just on everything. And we'll make sure that we listen to those railroad tracks on anything that's emerging from the healthcare news. So we have this process called IICP that we have people who are kind of listeners and inform WEDI staff that really need to pay attention to things. You'll hear about Charles talk about relationships with patient advocacy. And Michael, I'm sorry you can't keep up with me. And so you'll be able to hear from Charles the different patient advocacy groups that we're working with. VBC, value-based care, we're inviting organizations to share their successful practices, particularly in their education program, and of course, growing our advisory role. But before turning over to you, Charles, I do want to say something. Is that all right?
Of course.
All right. So I want to thank for 2023 all those participated in the work groups, our education program, and all of our policy activities. You know, the MPAs are just amazing, where people are just chatting and expressing their opinions, and it's very, very insightful, and particularly to Rob as you're creating those comment letters to HHS. Thank you to our board members and their committees, and especially to the WEDI staff. And I really want to say this, Charles, they're really, really amazing. Sam orchestrates our work group activities and member communications, which has really grown over the last year. Michael, you just look at our education content, our different podcasts and our YouTube videos. There's so much content. Rob has really expanded how many different comment letters we write for so many different things and running those policy events. Bill with his hard work on membership and sponsorships, and Charles for your outstanding leadership. We're so lucky to have all of you. Now you can have the ball, Charles.
Okay. So just finishing up as Ed was going through, he just focused on some of the new pillars for 2024, and he mentioned continuing the 2023 momentum on of being patient centric. And next slide. And he also spoke about value-based care. And so now I would like to just briefly go through the financial report and talking about where we ended up last year. Each year we provide a summary of where we ended the previous year. And it seems like 2022 was so long ago, but it's a good part to give you a reference point. We ended last year with a $107,000 contribution to our reserves. During 2023, membership and WEDI continued to support by renewing at an 88% retention rate. We added 13 new members during the year. We may be hitting on 14 in the next week. Our educational events, as Ed's just spoke about, continue to grow in registration revenue, with sponsorship has been trending a little lower than we initially projected when we did the budget for 2023. But total revenues are projected to end the year at slightly under budget, though expenditures continue to trend much lower than projected. Our rolling forecast projects an estimated $40,000 net income from the operations by year end. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bill to talk about membership and sponsorship beyond what I just covered. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. Can everyone see me okay and hear me okay?
Yes, sure.
Perfect. Thank you for confirming. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you I have not yet met, my name is Bill Alder. I am the Associate Director of Membership and Business Development here at WEDI. And what you see before you are the beautiful logos for all of the WEDI Premium members and sponsors in calendar year 2023. For anyone that is not familiar with WEDI's Premium membership program, it is an add-on to standard membership that provides either event attendance prepaid at a discounted rate or select sponsorship deliverables. Sponsorship consists of many different things that Ed mentioned previously, to include educational sessions, podcasts, and other thought leadership, and branding opportunities. I'd like to extend my thanks on behalf of WEDI to all of the organizations that are shown here for your support, and we look forward to working with you again in 2024 to showcase your contributions, your knowledge, and your innovation to the Health IT Data Exchange community. Next slide, please. There are two primary areas of focus when it comes to nonprofit and association membership. The first of which is retention. And from what you can see on slide here, we are on track to retain 104 of our 118 dues-paying members, which is at about a rate of 88%. As Charles had noted previously, we have 13 new dues-paying members added in 2023, which brings us to a total of 258. That includes all of our government members and a small select handful of individuals. Looking forward to 2024, we anticipate a bump in that retention rate up to about 90%. And we aim to achieve this through increased touch points with each member throughout the year, making sure that we're delivering on value to them and providing content that is relevant to their business. We also aim to share metrics during the renewal cycle so that you can get a better sense of the number of workgroup participants that have engaged with WEDI throughout the past year, events they've attended, and other relevant statistics. You may see a survey in your inbox or some other type of assessment in the coming weeks and months relating to your membership and what you would like to see in 2024. Anything of value that you want to make sure that WEDI touches on. We know that we send quite a few surveys with regard to regulatory and policy activities, so know that these will be minimal in scope. Next slide, please. All right. The second area of focus for Nonprofit and association membership is recruitment. And I am proud to say that we welcomed 13 new members here in 2023. The list of those members is shown before you. If you have a colleague that works with one of these organizations that's not yet engaged in any sort of WEDI volunteer activity, work groups, events, etc., please do reach out. Of course, we stay in constant contact with our primary contacts at each of these organizations, but would love to engage them more deeply throughout the 2024 year. And you, as our WEDI members and volunteers who know us well, can certainly share that story from a more personal perspective. Looking forward to 2024, we anticipate 15 or more new members. Touching on a few of the things that Ed mentioned, we've developed some new value propositions that will fuel our outreach and any new campaigns to the respective stakeholder groups that you see before you: health plans, provider groups, hospitals and health systems, vendors, other STOs and government agencies. And we aim to find those through the database of contacts that was built in mid to late 2023. I have to say a special thank you to our board of directors and all of our volunteers who contributed to that value proposition work. It was no small feat. A lot of effort went into it, and know that we really appreciate all that you've done to help create and craft a lot of that new messaging. With that messaging, we have been aligning our sales and marketing efforts in general to ensure that it does reach our membership base and prospective memberships. You'll see some of that already on the WEDI website, and additionally in some of the email templates that we have developed. Lastly, I would like to give a special thank you to all of our WEDI members and our dedicated volunteers who make WEDI successful. It's through your contributions that we are collectively able to make such a profound and positive impact on data exchange policy and standards. If you know of a colleague who could benefit from WEDI education and resources, feel free to put them in touch with us. And you can do so at WEDI, WEDI, at wedi.org. And with that, I will pass things over to my colleague, Michael McNutt, to share a recap of WEDI education for 2023. Michael, over to you, sir.
I think you're on
Michael, your microphone.
You would think the person who does this all the time would actually know not to do that. Hello, everyone, and welcome. As I was saying while I was muted, the following slides will go over our education for 2023 and looking forward to 2024. As was mentioned earlier, our member position advisory sessions, virtual sessions that were developed this year, designed to collect input from members on proposed rules, RFIs, any opportunity we have to hear from you, our valuable members. So as you can see, we held 5 of them this year, starting in February with the Advancing Interoperability NPRM, followed later in February, a couple of days later, with Improving the Prior Authorization Process. Attachments was in early March. Healthcare's role in the National Artificial Intelligence Strategy took place in June. And then just recently, while not, I believe, an official MPA, soliciting member input on NCVHS's ICD-11 RFI. Thank you to all our members for offering their input and feedback as we prepare to address policy and regulation in 2023 and beyond. Virtual Spotlights is our WEDI brand for webinars, and we held several outside of our core educational pieces. Here's the list of the educational spotlights for this year: adopting a zero trust strategy, leveraging AI and machine learning to support the patient experience, which was a YouTube exclusive event available on our YouTube page. The WEDI Workgroup Open House, summer virtual spotlight on the Smart Health Insurance Card, and earlier this quarter, Healthcare and AI, understanding best business practices in an evolving industry. Sponsored spotlights, as Bill had mentioned, we are very gracious, very grateful to have such fantastic member organizations willing to share their expertise in the terms of health IT. So special thanks to Axway, MCG Health, Banjo Health, AdFX, and Cohere Health for participating in our sponsored spotlight series. These are unique educational pieces brought to us by certain vendors that are WEDI members. The WEDI podcast, a collective voice of health IT, started in 2020 and has grown significantly each year, it seems. So far, we have probably, it's an updated number, around 15,000 total downloads all time. This year was a record for downloads. We have currently 5,166 downloads in 2023. with a couple of days left in the year. So feel free, and we welcome you to visit our website, wedi.org/categories/podcast on the homepage, or wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. For 2023, as I mentioned, it was a record year for us. We have our 3 highest download months ever took place in 2023, including an incredible 804 downloads in February, which, as you all know, only has 28 days. So we did a fantastic job in February. We recorded our 100th episode, April 28th, with Dr. Lewis Sullivan, the founder of WEDI, and we had other notable guests, including Gita Wilson, CTO of Elevance Health, Tim Noonan with OCR, Dr. Jaffe with HL7, Ron Emerson with Zoom, Julie Rezick with Advata, and the list goes on and on. If you know of any healthcare superstars that you would like to hear on the podcast, please let us know. And as I mentioned earlier, our anchor events. We have 4 major events throughout the year. A health equity event, which we've held for 3 straight years, and then our kind of super annual WEDI Spring Conference, our Summer Forum, which is in Chicago traditionally, and our WEDI National Conference, once again, traditionally in Washington, D.C. The Health Equity Spotlight in 2023 was a virtual event in February. The spring event was also a virtual event. We garnered 654 registrations, one of our highest anchor events over the past couple of years. 4 days, 2 concurrent tracks, 100+ faculty members, and 50+ educational sessions. It was a fantastic couple of days. As you see there, a 72% registration increase from the year before and a 143% revenue increase from the year before. The Summer Forum was a hybrid event. We had live and virtual participation with speakers and attendees. With 251 attendees, that's a 115% registration increase from the year before and a 24% revenue increase from the year before. And finally, at the American University, Washington College of Law, we returned for a 2nd straight year for our national conference with an 85% registration increase from the year before and a 34% revenue increase from the year before. Looking forward to 2024, we already have 2 of our events already locked in, so please look at our calendar on wedi.org for your opportunity to register. Our 4th annual Health Equity Forum and Workshop, it's a hybrid event, will be taking place February 12th and 13th at the American University once again. Our Spring Conference will be May 13th through the 16th virtually. And tentative right now, August 6th and the 7th, our Summer Forum, tentatively once again also in Chicago. And then our national conference to be determined. We are looking for the fall once again, mid to late October in 2024. It's my pleasure to now hand the microphone off to my colleague, Samantha Holvey.
Thank you, Mike. I have certainly enjoyed working for you. I think we hit our 10-year anniversary this year, so I've enjoyed working with you. And excited to go over some of the new things that we have done this year. The first one that I'm super proud about is our new Why Join WEDI page. And we're giving our website a facelift. And it's a slow process, but I am excited to be working with our communications committee and our membership committee to get more ideas and more thoughts and input on how we can always be improving our website. As you know, it's a living and breathing thing, and a website is never quite done. And we will be doing our About Us page next. That's next on the chopping block for a nice little facelift. This year, we've really focused on providing more graphics to promote our work groups and our events and our work products on social media, especially LinkedIn. And I've provided a few of our graphics here that I really enjoyed developing, and especially I'm always trying to promote our work groups and our co-chairs all the time. And I know many of you, I'm pretty sure all of you, are very active in our work groups, and we certainly appreciate that. Next slide, Mike. Some more new initiatives. The weekly that goes out every Monday to all of our WEDI members. Every year we kind of give it a facelift and make tweaks and edits. So if there's anything that you don't see on the weekly, or if you don't see the weekly, if you want to make sure that you haven't accidentally unsubscribed from WEDI emails and you really want to get this email, because I always tell our new members, if there's one email that you open and read from WEDI, it's the weekly. And it has all of the latest and greatest at the top. We also include a look for the month of our schedule from workgroup meetings and events, we have industry news, we have upcoming events, industry partner news. As a WEDI member, feel free to send me any information that is going on from your organization that you would like to see included in the weekly, especially events. I know that we have several organizations that are excellent about sending me stuff to include, and we also have a new relationship with the CMS Communications and Marketing Department. So we're trying to help spread the good word from them as well. So you'll see those call out boxes in the weekly and also in our reigning regulations newsletter that goes out Thursday afternoon. We have began sending that to all of our WEDI members because I found that people are not super likely to opt into emails. But when I sent all of our members the reigning regulations newsletter, we had like a 40% open rate, which is amazing. If you're talking about industry open rates, that's like over 30% what the normal is. So if you want to be included in any of those newsletters or want to make sure you're getting them, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always looking at ways to use them, update them, make small edits. If there's anything that you love, like I know Rob puts together the federal report that you see linked in our federal highlights section of the newsletter, the weekly newsletter, and a lot of people really enjoy that document. And if you haven't checked it out or if you haven't looked into it, I certainly encourage you. Rob puts that together every week and it is absolute gold for some folks. So I know you don't want to miss out on that. Next slide. One thing that we implemented last year was a YouTube channel, and this year we have really worked hard to promote our videos, and our remittance advice and payment 101 video, as you can see, has over 13,000 views, which is amazing for an EDI video, and it actually inspired a new work product that our work groups have been working on, is an EDI 101 series of webinars, short webinars. They'll be 10 to 15 minutes long. And before we hop to the next slide, I just want to encourage you to subscribe to the WEDI YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Next slide. And these are just some more visuals of different campaigns that we have run this year on LinkedIn. We're always growing our followers, making sure to post important information there. And we also use it as a marketing tool. So make sure you're following us on LinkedIn. And if you have any ideas for things to promote work products, things you want to see from WEDI, especially from our communications and marketing department, we have the WEDI blog. We're always looking for guest writers on. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or any edits. I love getting feedback on our emails, our website, our social media work. Also tinkering with the idea of creating a WEDI Instagram account. Since we have been doing so much work with graphics, we want to show those off because those are a lot of fun, and we're going to be continuing that work in 2024. Next slide. Now I can hop into one of my favorite subjects, our work groups. And like I said before, I know that all of you are involved in our WEDI work groups, and I appreciate that so much. If you see a work group on the list that that you're not subscribed to, or you're not going to those meetings and you want to get involved, you can always reach out to me. I'm always happy to help you get involved and get plugged in. And the 2024 work group calendar invites will be going out tomorrow and Friday. So make sure you're subscribed to any of the email lists for these work groups, so that way you'll receive the calendar invites. Next slide. And this is just a quick list of the 2023 work products for this year. As you can see, we're moving slightly away from less papers, more videos, just because the videos get watched a lot more than the papers. But a lot of these, you know, our work groups will write a paper on it, then they'll put together a video and graphics that go along with the paper. So we're always trying to change it up and get people information and resources in different ways, new ways, and ways that they best absorb the information. And all of our work products can be found in the Knowledge Center on the WEDI website. And these work products are available for members and non-members. And if you see a work product that you're really impressed with, make sure you get involved in that work group. And again, happy to help get you plugged in. Next slide. And I mentioned this a little earlier, but the Data Exchange 101 video series is something that we have been working on throughout the summer. The work groups and sub-work groups have been putting together the content, and then I am putting it into a presentation format. We'll record them, then they will be posted on the WEDI YouTube channel, which is why you want to subscribe, so you'll get them first. And they'll also be posted on the WEDI website and all of our social media platforms. And this is just a snippet to give you an idea of the workflow that we're going to be highlighting. And it's kind of, if anybody remembers the Schoolhouse Rock, like this is a bill, this is how a bill gets made. It's kind of like that. We found that a lot of the videos that get watched the most on our YouTube channel are more of the 101 and basic level, people just trying to wrap their head around these very complicated processes. And a lot of folks that are new to the industry, we want them to start on the WEDI YouTube channel and get caught up, so that way they can participate in the latest and greatest webinars and events that we also feature here at WEDI. Next slide. And we're always looking for leadership here at WEDI. I want to introduce some of our newly added co-chairs from this past year. I am so grateful for these folks for stepping up, and really excited about getting some new leadership and new ideas into our work groups and sub-work groups. And if you are interested in becoming a co-chair, I have heard so many amazing stories from folks about how they were nervous about becoming a co-chair, and they weren't sure if they could do it, and then they stepped up anyway and actually have been like promoted from within their company. They received so many more accolades and a lot more respect and a much bigger platform within the health IT industry. So you're not just helping yourself, your company, you're also helping WEDI, and we really appreciate that. We're looking for co-chairs for the claim status sub-work group, another co-chair for privacy and security, another co-chair for payment models, genomics, and health equity. So if you're interested in learning more and what being a co-chair means, feel free to reach out to me. And we won't just throw you into the fire. We will slowly acclimate you and get you caught up, so that way you know everything there is to know about being a WEDI co-chair. Next slide. And I think now it's Rob's turn. Take it away.
Thank you, Sam, and we really appreciate your wonderful and very creative work on both the communications and the work group side of WEDI. So thanks so much. And I did want to add, I know you heard thanks from Ed and others, but I wanted to personally recognize the incredible volunteer leaders that WEDI have. You know, there's a school of thought in Washington, and that is advocacy is absolutely a team sport. And thanks to Ed and the executive committee and the full board, they really do a wonderful job of reviewing all of the comment letters that we put together. A special thanks to Matthew Albright and Jay Eisenstock. I see Matthew was on here. Big thanks to them for co-chairing our policy committee and providing that level of leadership. We also have tremendous leaders within the work groups, sub-work groups, and task groups that really help shape our communications to the government. And of course, we could not develop the types of comment letters that we do without the wonderful participation from the entire membership through surveys, through work group meetings, through forums, and Ed mentioned our member position advisory events. They have been just tremendous sources of information and inspiration as we develop our comment letters. Next slide. And I won't go through all of these, but I did want to recognize, as Ed alluded to, that we really have a wonderful working relationship, in particular with CMS, both the Office of Burden Reduction and Informatics, and their national standards group. They recognize that WEDI gives them access to the industry and the perspectives of the industry that they really need as they develop policy. And we also are working with other groups, in particular NCVHS, as they are that important way station between industry and CMS. And on the private sector, really a wonderful list of organizations that continues to grow. We are very active in trying to develop collaborations with these organizations. Really, that is the centerpiece of WEDI, really the ethos of our organization, which is to convene and collaborate and develop solutions. Next slide. And here's a list of some of the letters that we have submitted to the government. You can see here, they range from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. We also submitted comments to Congress, in particular, the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee on Privacy and AI. The White House wanted to hear from the industry in regards to artificial intelligence, and we were able to provide, I think, really good feedback on a number of key questions around AI. NCV just put out a request for information on the potential adoption of ICD-11, and we were able to submit comments on that. Only 18 organizations submitted comments, and we were one of those. They have reopened an RFI on ICD-11, so we're working on providing additional information to NCVHS, and so you'll see that come out in early January. Of course, we saw some really important rules come out. We submitted comments on the attachments proposed rule, on the interoperability and prior auth proposed rule, as well. HHS put out a proposed rule on the confidentiality of substance abuse disorder patient records. So we're expecting to hear more on that later. And we also teamed with NCPDP to submit comments on the NPRM early in the year. Next slide, please. So I did want to sort of prognosticate and look into the crystal ball and see what we can expect in 2024. These are always speculative in nature. We are expecting, and we had, of course, ONC head Dr. Meki Tripathi speak at our national conference, and he alluded to the fact that we should expect the HT1, the HTI-1 rule perhaps early in 2024. We're also expecting an ONC EHR certification program update from ONC. I'll put this in here. We've been waiting for 20 plus years, but we may see a final rule on electronic attachments. And of course, OCR is expected to release modifications to the HIPAA privacy rule and to the Part 2 rules as well. In terms of guidance, we probably will see additional guidance coming from ONC on information blocking now that they've released the final rule. A big issue facing both government and the private sector is the security of apps. And so we'll talk about the rule coming out in a second. But I think there's a lot of issues around app security, and I would not be surprised to see some guidance come out from the government. As well, No Surprises Act, the good faith estimation and advanced explanation of benefits. Again, wouldn't be surprised to see some additional guidance, sub-regulatory information come out on those two. Under review and discussion early, of course, is ICD 11. The RFI has come out again from NCVHS, but no official word from CMS whether or not they will move forward. As always, we look to see if Congress will lift the prohibition on HHS working on a national patient identifier. I put attachments here as well because we don't know whether or not we'll see a rule, whether it will be delayed even further. And the 80-something transaction standards could move forward. We know X12 is working hard on updating all of the HIPAA standard transactions. Operating rules and NCVHS recommended moving forward with a number of them. And so we could see something folded into regulation there. And as you all know, Congress is very interested in a number of key healthcare issues, including cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. In fact, a bill was worked on just this week on price transparency. So we could see additional information there. And if we go to the next slide, I think what a lot of us are waiting for is, of course, the interoperability and prior authorization final rule. We have been in communications with CMS and trying to get out from them when this rule will be released. We are anticipating that this rule will come out early in the new year. And we expect it to include things like the patient access API, the provider access API, the payer-to-payer data exchange. The big issue, of course, improving prior authorization, folding PA into MIPS, and interoperability standards for APIs. So if that comes out, we are going to hit the ground running. As Michael alluded to, we are going to put together a full series. So we'll have a basic overview of the rule led by CMS, but we then plan to do deep dives into all of the critical elements of this final rule. So watch for that. It'll be, of course, free for WEDI members to emphasize the value of becoming part of this organization. And with that, next slide. I am really pleased to turn it over to Charles to really cap this off by recognizing the wonderful volunteer leaders within the organization.
Thank you, Rob. And that's exactly as I was thinking through the comments that we heard from each of the staff and from Ed. We can't do this without the volunteers and without the leaders within WEDI. So just to summarize, we each year around early part of October, we do a call for nominations for our awards. We send that throughout the membership and have a period of sometimes 30, sometimes as much as 45 days for members to submit their nominations for awards. And again, we want to recognize the winners for the 2023 WEDI Awards. Next slide. Starting with our Leadership in Volunteerism, the Andrew Meltzer Award. And for those of you who might recall, this is named in honor of the late Andrew Meltzer, who committed his career to healthcare and devoted his life to helping, teaching, and sharing with others. So this award recognizes the Outstanding Leadership and Volunteerism Award. And this year it goes to Stanley Knockamson. He's been a long-time volunteer at WEDI, going back to the early 2000s when he was an employee at CMS. He currently serves as co-chair of the Claims Sub Work Group and NSA Task Group. We have both produced, and these groups have both produced numerous papers and comment letters, as Rob just described. So congratulations to Stanley, and we just can't thank you enough for all of the time that you devote to WEDI and specifically to these sub-work groups and work groups. Next is the Health IT Champion Award, the Louis Sullivan Award. This year, we have chosen Mickey Tripathi. And of course, we're going to have to let him know at the ONC conference that starts tomorrow morning. I'll be letting Mickey know that he won the Louis Sullivan Award. As the national coordinator, he's setting the agenda for ONC, and we've gone through so much of what ONC has produced these past years. In less than 3 years, his leadership has pushed the industry forward, and we can't thank Mickey enough for all of the commitment he has made to WEDI and the industry. Next. And then the Innovation in Health IT Award goes to Cambia Health Solutions for the Innovation in Health IT Award. This, in terms of Cambia, has a strong vision to improve PA decisions, faster turnaround times for members by collaborating with providers in the state of Washington and Oregon. Cambia was able to launch the nation's first scalable prioritization automation workflow using the HL7 Da Vinci Project's implementation guides. So again, recognizing Cambia for their the Health IT Award, Innovation in Health IT Award. Next slide. I'm going to the Excellence in Service Award. We recognize Donna Campbell and Amanda Abbott for their work with the E&B reporting tiered benefits paper. Janice Bakos and Heather McComas on the prioritization paper, guiding principles paper. Mike Patwell for providing content for conference sessions, but also with presenting and moderating at sessions throughout the year. And lastly, Terry Cunningham, Beth Davis, and Tom Wilder on the work that they have been doing with the No Surprises at Task Group. Thank you again to each of these volunteers. Next. I'm going to turn it over to Ed.
All right, Charles, and I have the pleasure of giving out chair awards, and 2 people. By the way, Sam, the graphics makes everyone look so angelic, don't they? And actually, Denny, you made such a difference for us in stepping up to be a co-chair within the Education Committee and being very active as a board member. Really appreciate how you keep the education program relevant for all the things that you observe in the industry. It's been amazing. And Mary Lee, best partner a chair could ever have. I tell you that monthly. You've done such a wonderful job advancing strategic planning committee, continuing to contribute to the work group leadership and being a great partner. So thank you to you both for your chair award.
So unfortunately, we're out of time, and I hope that you found this useful. Please reach out to any of us on the staff to answer any questions, and we'll also have the recording and the slides available as well. So with that, I want to thank each of you for joining us. I want to thank everyone for their commitment, contributions to WEDI and to the industry, and for making a difference. I think that's what we all want to see happen. And with that, wishing everyone a happy holiday, enjoying the rest of the year, and we look forward to working with each of you in the new year. Thank you again for joining us today.